It's going to get annoying, isn't it? Good evening, visitors. Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dennis Stockman, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Rob Saunders. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through and to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Second Lieutenant Walter Wilson, DCM. Walter Harry Wilson was born on the 18th of February 1893 in Katowi, South Australia, to Charles and Amy Wilson. He was the first of 7 children. He attended Katowi Public School and after leaving school worked as a farm labourer. Wilson was a popular member of the Katowi community. He was a member of the Katowi Cricket and Australian Rules football clubs and taught at the Methodist Sunday School. He was also an active member of the Methodist Guild. Following the outbreak of the First World War, Wilson enlisted at Oaklands on the 31st of December 1914. He underwent initial training at the Australian Army Medical Corps depot in Adelaide before being posted as a stretcher bearer to B section of the 4th Light Field Ambulance. Wilson embarked from Adelaide in late June 1915 aboard the transport ship Border, bound for Egypt, but was not sent to Gallipoli, instead remaining in Egypt. In early March 1916, he transferred to the 3rd Field Ambulance and at the end of the month sailed with his unit to France. Wilson saw his first major battle at Pozieres. On the 23rd of July, the first day of the battle, Wilson and another man went forward to bring back wounded men from the trenches occupied by 11th Battalion. He and his fellow stretcher bearer could not move through the congested communication trenches, so instead they climbed into open country to get to the front line. They advanced under heavy shell fire and brought a wounded man soon thereafter. Wilson and his fellow bearer made many more trips to the front line that day under heavy artillery fire. Both would later be awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal. After enduring the terrible winter of 1916, Wilson was sent to England in January 1917 to attend officer training school. He had been promoted to Lance Corporal in early August and, having successfully completed officer training course, was commissioned as a 2nd Lieutenant. On returning to France in mid-August, Wilson was posted to the 10th Battalion and joined C Company as a platoon commander. He took part in the battles of Menin Road and Polygon Wood the following month. The 10th Battalion played a supporting role during the capture of Brucine Ridge on the 4th of October, but only days later the battalion was back in the front line. On the 9th of October, the 10th Battalion was ordered to raid Celtic Wood. C Company was tasked with the raid, although numbers had to be supplemented from volunteers from other companies. Wilson and his platoon were on the left of the line, and as the raiders began their advance on Celtic Wood, the men came under immediate fire from German machine guns in Celtic Wood and from the flanks. There are varying accounts of Wilson's death, but it is believed that the initial German machine gun fire devastated the 2 platoons on the left of as the raid began, including 2nd Lieutenant Wilson. He was 24 years old. Wilson's remains were not recovered at the time of his death and could not be located following the end of the war. As a result, his name was added to the Menin Gate Memorial. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember 2nd Lieutenant Walter Harry Wilson, DCM, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we shall remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and good evening.